Everyone, I see. Hello, everyone. I see the participant numbers creeping up. So it is so wonderful to have you all here bright and early. My name is Rebecca Thomson, and I am so excited to kick off our 2023 View from the Top series. As many of you know, View from the Top is always the third Tuesday of the month at 9:15 a.m. Central Standard Time. It's 45 minutes, action-packed. And today we are so excited. We have the one, the only Sue Yannaccone, who is our featured speaker today. We're doing a fireside chat. For those of you who don't know Sue, you have been missing out. So it is actually a large part of the reason that I am here is the woman we have here on screen. So Sue is the president, chief executive officer for Anywhere Brands and Anywhere Advisors, which means she's responsible for overseeing both company-owned brokerage and all of our franchise operations across our company's 6 brands. So that's, of course, Coldwell Banker, Better Homes and Gardens, Century 21, Corcoran, ERA, and Sotheby's. She is a leading influencer in the industry's most notable rankings, including Swanepoel Power 200s, their top 40 women executives, Riz Media's newsmakers, Housing Wire's Women of Influence. She is highly sought after, the most powerful woman in real estate, and we are so excited to have you here, Sue. So thank you for being here today.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here and appreciate the very kind intro. Thank you. Happy to be here.
Of course. Well, so it has been a strange couple of years. We had COVID. That was random. That was strange. That was crazy. We all thought, okay, finally we figured it out. And then the end of last year coming into this year, I think threw us a little bit of curveball. But let's flash back, to 2022. I feel like we're already kind of in the mix of 2023. But what really surprised you the most about what you saw in 2022?
Yeah, listen, it's funny. You talk about COVID, and I was speaking at an event the other day, actually at a DE&I event in New Jersey with our Coldwell Banker teams. And I said that COVID occurrence. I'm like, it was an occurrence, right? It was much more than an occurrence. So, we should take a moment to congratulate those of us, what we were able to accomplish, pull together, lead as a team through that. And I think it really set us up for what I think was the most surprising part of 2023, which truly was the speed of change, right? I mean, just the absolute, I would almost say it was like whiplash a little bit, right? I mean, we went through the highest of the highs and then just so rapidly saw this change in the market driven by so many macro factors, right? That influenced and impacted the market in general. You come off the heels of one of the most, if not the most active markets we've ever seen. And then it felt like kind of the brakes were pressed, right? And, those of us who've been through multiple market cycles kind of knew it was going to come, right? There's going to be a change. Nothing stays up here forever. But I do believe for me, the most surprising thing, and I think for most, was just the rapid nature of the change in the market, for sure. But look, I'm proud of us. I'm proud of you all. We learned how to adopt, tying it back to the COVID comment, like we learned to adapt very quickly to a new way of doing business. And that's what's propelled us through and will continue to do so even in a more challenging market.
Absolutely. Well, and it's interesting you mentioned the market because this group was all together just February 1st talking about, what is the market? And initially, it seemed to scare off a lot of, would-be buyers and potentially sellers who have up until at least recently been waiting to see. So how do you see that narrative playing out in the weeks and the months ahead?
Yeah, look, as I said before, there's always a market, right? And it's always cyclical. There's going to be ups and downs. Those of us that have done this for a long time are prepared for that. And I think that the important thing to note, and it was probably talked about in your last meeting, the market, we can't get distracted by the headlines of the macro, right? Because real estate is hyperlocal. And so whatever's going on in our immediate markets, in exactly where you're transacting, that is really the headline we need to know about. Those are the buyers and the sellers and the consumers that we have to be able to talk to as an agent to inform as to what's really going on right there. And it's important for us to remember that the public hears the macro headlines. They hear, all the doom and gloom or all of the highs and lows. Whereas, it comes down to that unique home, that individual opportunity. And I think there's that balance, right? Keep your finger on the pulse of what's going on globally, nationally, but then try and move past that headline and really focus on what matters in your market. Because I can talk to people today that are seeing the more sensationalized impact of market dynamics and everything ground to a halt. Then you have others like, we are still getting multiple offers. We are still having, a lot of froth, if you will. And so it's important to do that. Knowing that the headlines impact the consumer sentiment is really important. And so as a agent, how do you cut through that noise? How are you prepared to educate your seller that actually it's still a good time to sell because of X, Y, or Z? Or your buyer, here's how you can buy in this market. Here's how you can get the right deal for you. And I think, forecasters will tell you right now, and as we look, we're seeing many of them say we're starting to see some green shoots, right? So whether the bump in home builder sentiment, which I think is really, really important. We talk about inventory challenges. Those are very real. Maybe we'll talk about that a little more. We're seeing a slight increase in open transactions month to month. So I think you still see some buyers waiting in the wings. I still think the mortgage rates and what happens there is going to be important. But again, I bring it all back to, if you got to buy or you got to sell, you have to, and you need the agent that's going to help you get through that in your market.
Okay, we are definitely coming back to the inventory piece because I know that I'm sure a number of ears perked up as soon as you said that. But so how can really savvy agents start to prepare their clients for this new normal? They saw the headlines before of everything is great, you can sell your home for twice as much as before. Then it was doom and gloom. What can agents do to really help their sellers and buyers get ready to jump in?
Yeah, for me, it's about being that trusted advisor, right? So really understanding, coming prepared with the facts, right? And really gaining the confidence and the trust that your market, that, here's what the data is telling us. Here's what is really happening. And being able to, being part of Coldwell Banker, one of the great things is you're able to tap into, look, absolutely, like nationally, this is what we're seeing. And every other market may be seeing this. This is what's fueling the headlines, right? Because this is what my colleague in another part of the country may be seeing. However, here in your market, I think being able to run scenarios for the buyer and the seller, right? What can you afford in this market? Also knowing mortgage options. If you're dealing with a consumer that does have to get a mortgage, because not everybody out there is a cash buyer, don't fool yourself. What are the options out there? What are the different considerations? So partnering with a strong, a mortgage advisor to understand the true economics of the transaction. Yes, the rates went up, but that doesn't mean you can't afford a home. This may be what you look at. So for me, it's all about and understanding days on market for folks. How quickly are they moving the homes in the market? What is that average sale price, the list to sell price ratio? And what does that mean for a consumer? Look, I just sold my house. I'm in the process of selling my house. I'm under contract. It's been 2.5 years. I tried during the last couple of years to find I couldn't find a house. My personal anecdote is, there's nothing on the market in the price point I'm selling in. I had multiple offers. My house was priced below, and I experienced something I never thought I'd experience. That's not going to happen everywhere anymore, right? And so I think it's just having those real life anecdotes. And if you don't, talk to the folks in your office, understand what they're saying, but it's education and it's hyper local market data that is going to help that consumer make that decision to get off the sidelines and not miss their opportunity.
I love that. And, one of my mantras is always work smarter, not harder. And so surrounding yourself with good people is key. So that having a great loan officer, getting your GRA LO in your office and talking to them about the market and having them tell your client, we don't have to own it all ourselves. It's about really making sure that we have good people with us. I absolutely love that.
Absolutely. And I think it's important that, when you're looking to sell and you're working with a seller, be really honest, right? Be really honest with both the buy side and this. I'll always be honest. Let's start there, right? Like we always want to be honest. But sometimes it's hard to walk into somebody who wants to sell their house and thinks it's amazing and it looks fabulous and they haven't changed the carpet in, 35 years, or they have, the paint colors, and, have a conversation. Think about leveraging products that may help them do that, to be really honest. Like, I love Real Vitalize, right? Little, amazing offering that we have, and factually can help people get their home ready for sale without taking on the burden of, like, you mean I have to go find a contractor? I don't have time to paint. I haven't done it 30 years I've lived here, right? So, looking at what they're experiencing and how we can close those gaps to make their home the most marketable is really important in a market like this.
Buyers have definitely become much more fickle, and it's
True.
all we do is look at pictures online. And so, of course, when we go into the house, we expect it to be gorgeous. And fortunately, we have the tools that we can get there. My other mantra lately is no more stinky listings. And so it means don't let us overprice them, but also they don't have to look ugly. We can fix them.
We can fix them. We've got Real Vitalize for that. And let me tell you, even the kids, like my daughter is 12, her favorite show is Dream Home Makeover. One of these shows, like so now she's like, does it have an aesthetic? Does it have a vibe? Right? Like, she's 12. And make no mistake about it, kids have an impact in who's buying and selling the house. And so you've got to think about what's the one or two features of the house that's going to grab somebody. And, what's that? Agents know this. Everybody on the phone knows this, but ensure you're leveraging everything at your disposal. Real Vitalize, your mortgage folks, everyone, to make that package, listing concierge, those things sing to the buyer of that property. And that's going to help.
Well, okay, so that's a perfect lead in for my next question. First we had, professional photography, then video, drone, Matterport, digital ads. The bar for listing marketing continues to rise. And really especially in this market, what sellers are expecting, they expect the sun, moon, and stars. And so my question for you is, what's next?
Yeah, I think it's important that we always keep our finger on that pulse, right? And assessing what sellers are looking for, what sellers need for what buyers are looking for today, right? And you just said it yourself. We spend so much time looking at the imagery online, right? Whether anybody, even if people aren't, sidebar, like everyone's like, oh, there's, how many unique visitors, and that's all these leads. No, they're not. Half the people are just looking at listings online because it's fun to look at houses. I get ideas of how to decorate based on looking at what the really nice houses for sale have decorated like, right? So now you go to Real Vitalize and you can do that. But you've got, and that was, but you look at Listing Concierge as a way that we can continue to evolve the marketing tools that we provide based on what the buyers are telling us. When you think about the scale that we have and the number of transactions that we, go through and deal with and touch, we get a lot of feedback. We get a lot of feedback from sellers, from buyers, from agents, from people like you, your leadership there. And it helps inform how we evolve, those things that we're bringing to market to help you as our agents list and sell more properties. And it's important because you don't have time to do that, right? Everything is elevating. I mean, look, listing, selling, meeting with your customers, that is your highest and best use. And the evolution and the pace at which things are evolving, drone photography, we can't be experts in all of those things. So we leverage experts to help inform what goes into those tools so that you have them. And so whether it's new techniques for automation, if we're looking at better ways to target the feedback so that we can better position our marketing so that you get better reach, that's our job, right? And we can do that for you to help drive greater listings captured, faster sales, what we really should be doing. And so I think we look at what buyers are looking for, which is that higher end photography, whether it be digital, floor plans, those types of things that are going to capture.
Absolutely. So one more follow-up on this. Okay, so Chat GPT is like all the buzz, and I'm seeing apparently universities are writing emails with this. People are skimming news articles with it. How do you see ChatGPT playing into our market, into our industry?
Look, I'm excited about the potential that it opens up and the opportunity, all of these things. I mean, if you think about, I had somebody the other day who told me, little inside baseball, we were writing reviews and somebody's like, I just for fun, like tried Chat GPT. Like it actually like did a great, I said, don't send that out. That's not okay. But I think it's about looking at the ways that we can free up time, become more efficient, and allow us to focus in other ways where we need to be. And so, I think all of those things provide great opportunity to drive value into the products and services that we offer. It all, to me, if you look at all of this technology that's impacting our business or attempting to, it's all about freeing up time for the agents to do more listings, to focus on what matters the most, supporting their clients, being that advisor, having that brought to them, and then ultimately also making it easier for the consumer, removing friction from the transaction, making things work better and faster. We do that in everything else we do in the rest of our lives. So it's really important that we think about those things as making the transaction and the process easier in real estate, because it's very fragmented and it's very challenging. And what you guys do every day is really, really hard. So those types of things are going to continue to evolve in our business to make it easier to go about doing the business, which ultimately always has the agents at the heart of that, that consumer and that relationship component is just going to be fed by those things.
Well, then I, of course, am thinking back in my selling days, maybe I shouldn't write my seller a price improvement note with Chat GPT, but maybe my MLS remarks. Like there's
maybe your MLS remarks, right?
Yes.
Because that's the personal things you're going to want to do, but those other things that are not like, free yourself up a little bit, embrace it, try it.
Yes. Well, okay. So, and as agents are thinking about, and I was, for some reason last week had the Daft Punk song stuck in my head, although I changed it, my sales meeting last week, we talked about better, faster, stronger, smarter. Like that's thinking about, but what you're saying is that's who we need to be as agents in the year ahead is we need to be thinking differently. We need to protect our time. How can agents get ahead of the ball? What can they do to ensure that they're positioned for success? Because usually the Super Bowl is somehow like this magic time of free market is here, but we're still early enough in the year. What do you think agents should be doing to get ahead of this?
Look, I think it's a lot of it for me is focusing on fundamentals. And we just spent, which is kind of funny, like you're like, wait, you were just talking about technology and how do we, that doesn't feel fundamental. First of all, it is today, right? It really is. I think that, if you look back across spectrums of market cycles, and if you look at who is successful during, coming out of, going into, right? They are those agents that have not sat back and waited for, rather they have leaned in and plowed, forward. So what is, how do we get back to the basics? How do I look at my data and my numbers to ensure, and I know I come back to that because I think it's really important. It is going to be the agents that are prioritizing their work, that are prioritizing their days, focused on what they need to do in order to get ahead. So I always come back to my fundamentals are around the idea of like 4 disciplines of execution, whatever the process is that you as an individual want to follow to make sure you're getting ahead, right? So prioritize your time, prioritize your spend, prioritize, your focus in order to accomplish what you want to accomplish in the year. So ask yourself, is what I'm doing something that only I am uniquely qualified to do, right? And if so, that's where you want to spend a lot of your time. Is this spend? Be really honest about the ROI on your expenses as an agent, right? Is it bringing back to me what I'm putting out? I talked to a broker recently that said, man, the last quarter really kicked my butt. I wasn't prepared for for how quickly business changed. And he said, but I believe it's the best thing that ever happened to me. And I said, well, why? And he said, because it forces me to remember what I'm good at and what I need to be good at to be successful in a difficult market. And it is, when a market decline occurs, when a slowdown occurs, I believe it's a great opportunity because everything that maybe really isn't working shows itself, right? Like, oh, maybe that wasn't working like that, and it allows you to say, you know what? I am going to step up here. I'm going to elevate here. And it does separate the true professionals in our business from those who are not. And there's a lot of opportunity that occurs because you're going to have a lot of people that don't know how to pivot their business to succeed in a changing market. And I think that's why I'm excited about the year, and I'm excited about the opportunity that a changing market does, because it forces us to lean into ourselves a little bit, to learning, to opportunity, and to ground ourselves in the basics and be a little agile. I think it's very important in this business.
Well, it's in what everybody says, what's old is new, what's fundamental is fundamental. I love that you're now saying, this is big. Tech is fundamental. It's foundational. It's part of what we do. You also touched on, of course, our core 4 values, one of which is wealth builder. And you talked about agents watching their spend. And so if we can just touch on that piece, where do you think there's opportunity for agents, and what should agents avoid doing this year, especially in terms of their own financial well-being?
Yeah, I started my career as a licensed agent. And it was one of the most challenging things I found was how to manage my money. And it seems sort of so basic, but it's not, right? It can be very difficult. What do I need to invest in? How much do I need to put in the bank, right? Have I set aside my money for my quarterly taxes if you pay your taxes that way, which I did at the time as a straight commissioned agent. But what I think is really hard to do as an agent, as really anybody, I still learn it now, and I touched on it a little bit, is what am I uniquely qualified to do? And I also said earlier that we're not all experts in everything. And so I think there is a complete need, whether it's, annually or, more frequently than that, but certainly at some point to sit down and say, what am I doing because I think I'm really good at it, and I'm spending money in a way because I think I know better than, or because I've always done it this way and I'm afraid to try something new. But look, it is a honest look in the mirror about what you're really good at, what you really know. We talked about, what buyers are looking for today in listings, what they're looking to get. Are we really individually the best at determining how many, what the marketing pieces should look like, right? Like, probably not all of us individually great at that. So when we have the opportunity to leverage experts, like through our marketing teams that Coldwell Banker offers and has on, for listing concierge and other things, maybe give up a little bit of your personal spend on. We're already investing in that for you. You're investing in your business by being part of Coldwell Banker Realty. Take advantage of those opportunities. Think about those areas that you're spending that aren't driving a real return, and they're taking up a lot of your time. And leverage what's available to you as part of being part of this amazing company, because while maybe it's not 100% the way you would have done it, it's absolutely what the consumer wants. And that pride in certain things that we do, which we love, and I get it, and it's amazing, isn't necessarily going to sell more homes for you or get you more listings. What's going to do that is sitting down with that consumer and having that conversation and building that relationship and allowing somebody else. So I think it's about really being honest about where your highest and best use is, and letting go of those things that, while we love and we have a sort of pride of ownership above, and it feels like we're having like a lot of control, is it really that valuable in the long run to getting that business?
I love that. Well, So a couple things you brought up that are so true. I remember going to the National Association of Realtors like Expo, and there's vendors everywhere. And I always would tell myself, well, if I could just get one deal, like it pays for itself. And how many times have we all found, I'm sure there are many people who are like, oh yes, like if you look at your credit card statement, it's like maybe the gym that you ideally want to go to, but haven't visited recently. I know it's already February, so some of you are there with me, but it's like this, how many things are we paying for that Coldwell Banker is already giving it to us? Use the thing that you have. And what are the things that are the set it and forget it, like clients for life? Like what are the things that we can and should be using that are so we look to other things and just focus on the relationship.
Yeah, and I think don't forget that is an investment in your business. Clients for life is something that we do as an investment in your business, right? As part, so are we duplicating things? I also think at the beginning of the year is a great time to say, what do I want to learn this year? What skill have I been putting off, or what opportunity have I not taken advantage of that will ultimately grow my business? And that's where I want to invest, right? So it's not all about pulling back. It's about saying, okay, in a market like this, I need to get more listings because we have a supply issue, right? If we have more houses, we'd sell them. And so therefore, how do I get more listings? Okay, I know I need to do X, Y, or Z. Well, man, because I haven't had to do that for the last couple of years, or maybe I haven't, right? So what have I forgotten to do or put on the back burner? Maybe I've been focused on buyers and whatever that is, invest in that, and invest your time there in order to accomplish your goal for the year. And the other thing is, as part of that, no matter what you're investing in, whatever you're not investing in, measure your activities, your actions on a consistent basis. Don't wait till the end of the month, the end of the quarter, the end of the year to look back and be like, oh, I didn't sell enough house, right? It builds every month, every week. Look at those things you're doing to measure the results. And if they're not working, guess what? Try something else. Call your manager, phone a friend and say, hey, this isn't working. How do I hold myself more accountable to doing what I've committed to do? Just like that gym membership that I actually just gave up because that was a waste of money.
Well, by the way, perfect plug for our next View from the Top. So March 21st is going to be a panel of agents who are, the theme is navigating the current market. And so agents who are doing exactly what you're talking about. What are they saying? What are the habits that are getting them listings, that are getting them not just in front of buyers, but getting those buyers to make offers, getting those offers accepted and actually going to close? So perfect lead in for that. I wanted to say, and by the way, everyone, you can throw questions in the chat. We're watching the Q&A. And so know that if you throw a question in there, I'm going to be monitoring it. I'm monitoring chat as well. So I'll throw it out to Sue if we have time for it. But so my question for you, Sue, and you touched on this a little, we talked about, what agents should be looking forward to. What are you looking forward to in 2023?
Oh gosh, I love a market that starts feeling, I'm excited about a little bit of the return to normalcy, as I said. I think that the frenetic pace of the last couple of years has been a learning opportunity for all of us. We saw what we could do, with more virtually, digitally, like we leverage tech. I think that's all awesome. I hope that we all go into a market like this, carrying those learnings forward to make us better. But what stands out in a more normalized market for me is the value of talent, the value of skill, of truly knowing your business. And I like seeing the professionalism that is required in this business come back to being normal. Now, don't get me wrong, during the insane period of the last 2 years, you had to really, what I found and what I heard anecdotally, because it wasn't easy, like just because there was because you were selling, one couple 42 houses before they bought a home, right? Because you kept losing houses, or, you had 35, 45 offers to go through as a listing agent, right? That's not easy. Don't get me wrong. I'm not suggesting that was easy. I was hearing a lot of, especially from our agents, there were so many people that they were carrying the water on both sides, that there was this significant amount of work on those that knew what they were doing, those that had the fundamentals, the training, the education, the ethics to do the job the way that it needs, the professionalism. And I think in a market that becomes more normalized, there's a flight to that stability, and there's, you know, a real need in a different way. But I like that. I like a more normalized market, because I think it gives a opportunity for us to shine and maybe take a breath. I think everyone's really exhausted after the last couple of years. But really that to me is exciting, because I like seeing that. I like seeing the wins for our team. And that to me is awesome.
Well, I want to circle back to something you said earlier about inventory, because I'm getting, by the way, my phone is blowing up, the chat. I have like 5 different things, messages coming in. So inventory, now some people are like, okay, great, we have too much. Some are like, okay, what's going on? I mean, market times have been increasing. We saw, you know, rather than 30 minutes or 30 hours, sometimes even closer to 30 days, market time is changing. But remember, no more stinky listings. Sometimes we're hearing the inventory isn't good. So can you talk to me about inventory?
Yeah, look, I think, unfortunately, and I think, you know, it's no surprise, building new home startups have not kept pace with demand. Now, that's not just like the last year or two. That is a long-term challenge for our business, for our economy, because, you know, housing really does fuel our economy. First-time home buyers, there's demand for inventory that's not there. And I think that as a society, you know, there's a real need for us to step in and think about how to solve inventory challenges. First-time home buyers, you know, there's a reason why I have such significant belief in our industry long term. And it is, first of all, I love our industry. I love what we do, but it's the demand. People are always going to be buying and selling homes. We just need the home. So we've seen some good news I touched on, right? Home builder sentiment saw the biggest gain in a decade in February. So that's positive, right? But that's a long term. And we're starting, you know, our hope is that we see that jolt forward, that we start seeing new home startups in the coming months and years. But I think that, you know, that's a long-term challenge, but the demand that's going to be continuing in this market is fueled by the changing demographics, the millennials that are finally, I feel like we've been talking about them forever, right? Like, talk about feeling old, like talk about a group of individuals for so long that you're not part of. And you're just like, I'm clearly not a millennial. They're finally reaching, you know, peak home buying years. And there's a lot of them, right? Gen Z values home ownership very much, we're seeing, which I can't even believe we're having that conversation, but we are. So I think that there's a macro issue on inventory. There's the local ability to work with your consumer as to why they should sell their homes, why the opportunity is there. But I think the home builder sentiment is a good indication that we should start doing that. And then what's been really interesting, and this is on the commercial side, which kind of marries into this, right, is how builders and how building owners are thinking about utilizing buildings in a different way, commercial space in a different way to try and change that to a different use, right? Or do we have, you know, some warehouse space that is no longer being used for whatever reason? Can we change some zoning and make that, you know, mixed use residential? It's going on here right around me in Jersey a lot. So I think there's this culmination of things that will help with that over time. I think there's tax implications that we could work on in, you know, DC. This is a hot button of mine, that how do we think about taking people that own multi-unit single-family homes or multiple single-family homes that they're renting right now. The vast majority actually own 5 doors or less. but capital gains tax, they might not be able to sell it, or economically, can we advantage them to sell to first-time home buyers? So I think there's a lot we can do long-term on that, but sorry, I could go on forever because I think it's a real challenge for us. But today, day to day, I think it's that it all for me comes back to educating the consumer on why now is a good time to sell.
Well, I had a little coughing fit in there, but the idea of more inventory did bring me to tears.
I would say, well, I know you're under the weather a little. I feel.
That's all right, but that's we roll with it, and it was actually perfect timing because truly, I think everybody has been waiting to hear about home buyer sentiment going up. That has been such a challenge, and so that is promising. Let's talk about those green shoots a little bit more. Part of the theme of this is your crystal ball, and my crystal ball is a little cloudy, but I would love to hear what do you expect to see in the months ahead for the market?
So I don't have a crystal ball either. I wish I did. But look, when you look at, we've been talking a lot about how sort of micro and hyper local the market is, and it should be as you are looking at that. I believe, if I look out, as I said, we still have significant demand. So if we can get homes out there, they're going to sell, right? I think that we have to keep an eye on mortgage rates. I think, taking a look at the rates and inflation and how that impacts a lot of it for me is that consumer sentiment, right? How are they feeling in the market? I'm watching opens to see what we have. I watch my leading indicators, right, to see. And everyone I talk to, and this is purely anecdotal, they have a lot of people that still want to buy, sell, and move, right? So it is not, I think that we're going to see folks come off the sidelines a little bit. I think there's going to be, we talked about a return to normalcy from sort of a pace. I think we're also likely to see some more normalcy. I think we started to see that in that seasonality that seemed to disappear, right? We used to always say we have this sort of seasonal trending that went away for a while. I think it's probably coming back a little bit. For me, it'll be interesting to watch what happens in the business world, right? Are people being required to go back to the office? And if so, what does that mean for locations that have been impacted by either an influx of individuals because they could work anywhere they wanted, or, and maybe that means some people are going to come back to markets where they have to go into the office every day. I think that's going to be really interesting. So I think we're going to see more of a return to normalcy, more of a return to seasonality. And I think we are going to continue to have that buyer demand out there. And so it's going to be incumbent upon us to work with our sellers to get them to move. Just, one more listing is all we all need, right? That would be amazing.
Absolutely. Well, one thing we all want in life, we all want an easy button. We want it now. We want it fast. We want it done well. So whether we're talking about DoorDash, Amazon Prime, Uber, we see companies really starting to cater to that philosophy. So how do you see Anywhere as a whole, and Coldwell Banker in particular, really tapping into this in 2023 and beyond?
I love that because I love the framing of it, focusing on things that we as just consumers, not as realtors, do every single day in our lives to make our lives easier, right? We've totally embraced Uber Eats and, Venmo or whatever it is. I shouldn't say totally, and I'll come back to that, but we've embraced these things because they make our lives easier. They remove friction from our day-to-day, right? Anywhere looks at the real estate transaction from, I call it dreaming to nesting, right? And says, how do we remove friction from that? What's critical, and I want to make sure everybody hears, is that is not, how do we remove the agent from that? It's how do we remove friction from that so that we can better serve the customer, so that we become the destination brokerage for more and more customers, right? So, you are more likely, if you as a consumer have become super used to everything in your life being push button easy, right? I pay a little bit more to go to Amazon. I really do, because I don't have time in my life to run out at 9 o'clock at night because my daughter forgot to get the highlighter that she needs, and she's OCD. And so she needs pink for, right? But guess what? I can order it overnight in Amazon and she can get it in the morning. Literally, this happened, right? 7 to whatever deliver. So I don't have time. So when you think about that, I'm totally embracing that. Not everybody has. Some people are like, Walmart's 24 hours. I'm going to get in the car. I'm going to drive to Walmart. I'm going to pay 50 cents less. That's okay. That's okay. The customer's still being served in the way they need to be served. We are looking at the transaction. We're looking at the full spectrum of what we offer as Anywhere. We have the only, nationwide brokerage, mortgage, title, insurance, all things that consumer needs to close on their transaction, right? How do we begin to make it more seamless for the consumer? Because that then makes them want to work with us. It eases up our agents' lives. And I think the way we look at it, and it's a framing, when I go back to the Venmo thing, like not everybody's okay with digital payments or, taking a photo of their check and scanning it and thinking it's going to show up, or Venmoing. Not everybody's okay with that. And everybody's acceptance of that technology is on their own terms, they're on their own journey on that digital adoption, right? The same thing we believe is going to happen within the real estate transaction. And consumers are going to both accept and expect digitization along that journey at different moments in time. And we want to be there anywhere that consumer is on that journey in order to serve them, but ultimately to get them to our agents to help close that transaction for them. And I think, if we step out of the day-to-day of how we transact business today, what we want to do, and this is 2023, we begin the path of, we started it last year, digitization. What can we do more digitally? How do we provide more of those services where we do the technology, the agents do the relationship, in order to close more of those and remove friction? It's a journey. It's not going to happen overnight. But I ultimately believe that you are better off with the company that is thinking about how to get there, because it will happen. And we want to be there when it does. And we are thinking forward to that moment in time when that consumer expects that. And it doesn't, to me, remove ever our agents. It augments their skills and their value to do more business and helps the consumer along the way.
I love that. Well, we only have time for one more question. And actually, I'm gonna give a shout out. So Elizabeth put this in the chat, what's the best piece of advice from Sue? And actually, I had it on my list to ask you, but it's a broad reaching. Originally, I was saying for what to expect in 2023. But Sue, take it how you will. I know this group is eager to hear your thoughts.
Hey, Elizabeth, how are you? So my advice, oh God. I think the best advice I've ever gotten, which took me a really long time to adopt, was to be authentic. And somebody will say, well, what the heck does that have to do with selling real estate? Make your own path, be who you are, take little snippets from those around you that you see that are working for them. Do not try and replicate how somebody else became successful. Be true to yourself, do it your way. You will find the customers for whom that resonates, and you will build your business in a sustainable way that will bring you greater happiness because you're not trying to be someone else. And I think that is applicable across every facet of our lives. But you look and see and you want to be like, oh my gosh, that person did X, Y, or Z. I want to do that. That's great. You can want to emulate the success. Don't emulate the style. Don't emulate the path. Do it your own way. It's exhausting to show up as someone else. Show up as you, love you, be successful for you, and you'll have an amazingly successful career that is satisfying as well. So that would be my advice. Yes, Ruth, be fearless. I love that. I've been accused of being fearless in my life. So
That is awesome. What a way to end this. And for those of you who have not had that chance to tune into What Moves Her, I know that that is something Sue started. It is very much about being authentic. I love it. So tune into that. Tune in next week or next month, March 21st, Navigating the Current Market. And just some key takeaways. Again, a book recommendation from Sue. I've read it. I recommend it. 4 Disciplines of Execution. Cannot miss it. Tech is fundamental. You want to look in the mirror. Take time to actually understand yourself, understand what your strengths are and what you bring to the table. Being authentic, know your numbers, leverage data, and surround yourself with experts and with the best. And we're all at Coldwell Banker, so of course, we're here with the best. Thank you so much, Sue.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it. See you all next month.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.